So we're hopping around, Peter, but Arjun Erigaisi, there at long last, he sits and faces off against Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, very interesting. Is this some mind game by Arjun? Yeah, usually we know that Magnus is the one who comes in the very last moment. Very interesting stuff. Is this psychology or was it just some accident? Because sometimes you have to go to the bathroom in the very last second. You never know, but it's kind of a signal.
And I think he wants to avoid the fate of FIDE Gujrati because there we see the handshakes. The game has started, and the game doesn't end until the clock is stopped. That's the thing about Magnus, who starts with the king's pawn opening, and we have a Sicilian. So this could be an exciting tactical battle between these two, and we'll see exactly the continuation we go down, but the board is starting to open after these first few moves.
Yeah, so it's wow, and bishop d3. This is very interesting, and yeah, Magnus goes knight takes c6, b takes c6. The reason why I said wow, that White was unwilling to go for this knight c3, bishop b4 territory that Arjun has been experimenting with recently.
Yeah, those lines can get very sharp, and I think for Magnus, what he understands about Arjun Erigaisi, very well prepared, extremely dangerous. And so look at this position. There's a bit of holes in Black's camp, especially those dark squares, and his last move, bringing that dark square bishop out to the square it sits on, he just aims into Black's position. It peers across the board, saying how you would compete for all of these dark squares. And so for Arjun, it's his first real think of the game. He still has over 15 minutes because of the time control with the bonus time.
Yeah, wow, now also we are getting the moves. It's very interesting because the action is a little bit slow. After e6, d4 takes, knight f6. Basically offers White to play the move knight c3, which in our childhood we have been taught that bishop b4 is too premature. White plays e4, e5, and it's very dangerous for Black. But Arjun has been going deliberately for this type of positions, for this specific line in some recent games, and Magnus says, you know what, I'm not interested, let me avoid any kind of tricky theory, let me just play chess, bishop d3, knight c6, capture on c6, b takes c6, bishop f4, d5, knight d2. A trademark Magnus Carlsen, everything under control, everything is protected and everything harmonious.
And it looks like a few more moves have been played where the White King has castle, Black got the bishop out as well, and we see that there's a pawn on c4 now, which is the standard way of playing against Black's pawn structure, because all of the fight is on that d5 square, and if Black flinches, if Black decides to take either the e or the c pawn, you're left with these isolated pawns on the queen side, and that's kind of a non-starter when you're playing against Magnus Carlsen. You don't want these long-term weaknesses. FIDE had almost no weaknesses and still lost that game. Together as a team. Queen b6, was the last move that I see here, and I have to say, I think that White's setup is harmonious. I would take the white side of this position. I feel like it's just a pleasant type style for Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, somehow white's moves are coming more easily. The first move that comes to mind is something like Queen C2. I'm not sure if this is the best move or not. I just want to highlight that, yes, somehow the moves from the white side comes so much more naturally.
Yeah, Queen C2 looks like a good choice. Pawn to B3. If you're ever worried about that B2 pawn, you can always just throw it one square forward and no longer are you concerned. But yeah, Queen C2.
Dubov had some brilliant preparation, but then somewhere things escalated. He has the time advantage and he felt like it's a good moment. And what? There is another finish in Magnus's game.
Wow, so just when I was talking about banning the draw for it, looks like Magnus and Arjun make a draw, and it's unfortunate because if you look at the position, not much has really happened. So we didn't get a true skirmish. The players are maybe just talking about little subtleties, but the bishop attacked the queen moved away, the bishop attacked the queen, and so, you know, it is a shame that we didn't get to focus in on this titanic clash, but if we're being honest, Peter, there wasn't really much to discuss here. I mean, they're talking about maybe little things that could have changed, but it was neutralized. Arjun Erigaisi did very well to hold off Magnus Carlsen and make a pretty easy draw without sweating.
Yes, this is great news for Arjun. So for all the Arjun fans, I think they are celebrating this draw. And it wasn't a draw for, yeah, this was a repetition of moves. It was a strategic battle where actually Magnus has set up the idea of sacrificing on h6 with queen c1. Give white one more move, bishop takes h6, lands on the board and it's gonna be checkmate. So black had to be very precise. Black goes bishop a3, kicking that queen away. Magnus continues with the idea queen d2, insisting on bishop takes h6, and then Arjun just follows with bishop b4, keeps on chasing that queen away. Let's not forget that white's queen was coming from c2. Also, Magnus has understood that black has already played the move a5, a4. This changes everything. Black gets rid of the weak pawn, opens up the a file for the rook. So strategically speaking, black is already perfectly safe. I have to say that this pretty much looks like a very high-class game.
I agree with you. This is one of those situations where white had to keep an eye on this h6 pawn because strategically black might even be better at this stage of the game, but because of the tactics on h6, black is somewhat forced to repeat bishop attacking the queen, and that's why the game ended in a draw. This I can logically explain to anybody. You did a fantastic job, Peter. So this is a game that, as you said, very high quality. There's no separation between these two players. In this battle, a draw is a fair, natural, and it's a finished result. We see exactly the game behind us. I think Magnus will be a little bit disappointed that he couldn't fight on